If you're looking to save space in your home gym, a rack-mounted preacher curl is a pretty excellent way to go. In this video, I'll show you how I made it. I like doing curls. I had a bench with a preacher pad, but found that it was pretty unstable. I had a full-on preacher chair for a while, but I didn't like how much space it took up. My solution was to build a preacher pad that mounts to a power rack. The cuts are simple. All are either 90 degrees or 45 degrees. First, I assemble the supports. I use mending plates and rafter ties to help secure everything together. When they're done, they should look like mirror images of each other. To figure out where to drill the holes for the dowels, I clamp one of the 2x4s to my power rack. The holes in my rack are 1 inch, so I use 1-inch dowels. If you have a rack with smaller holes, I suggest using metal bolts instead of wood dowels. Once everything is level, I use a pen to trace the circle. I drill 1-inch holes where I trace the circles. I only drill 3/4 of the way through the 2x4. I cut my dowels to 5.5 inches. On each dowel, I drill a hole with a 1/4-inch drill bit. This is where the linchpin will go. I use wood glue and 2-inch lag screws to secure the dowels in place. I pre-drill the holes before the lags go in. The pad for my preacher curl is made from 1/2-inch thick plywood. The width of my sheet is already 24 inches, which is what I want, so I cut a 15-inch piece and a 10-inch piece. I add wood glue and use a nail gun to attach the two pieces. I have no prior experience in upholstery, but honestly, it was easier than I thought it would be. I use 1-inch thick foam padding and some vinyl fabric I got at the local craft store, and make sure to leave a little extra padding to fold over the top where my arms will be resting. I spray my plywood with glue before putting the foam on. There are definitely better ways to measure the fabric before you cut, but I just eyeballed it. When cutting the fabric, I try to make sure there are a couple extra inches to fold over on each side. If you're not into the idea of doing this kind of pad, I have another option later on in the video. The main goal is to make sure everything is snug while you're putting the staples in. The corners are a bit tricky, but it really doesn't have to be perfect. There are plenty of upholstery tutorials available if you want to learn more before attempting this. Despite my lack of experience, it turned out pretty good. Now it's time to attach the pad to the support. I use lag screws and L brackets for this. I use a scrap piece of wood that's about 8 inches by 8 inches for the chest pad. Same steps as the larger pad. I detach the pad and spray the frame black. I realize I should have done this before attaching the pad. After the paint dries, I attach the small pad with lag screws and reattach the large pad. Now it's ready to use. Once it's set, I put linchpins in the dowels to keep it in place. But wait, there's more! I have another option if you don't feel comfortable with doing upholstery. Let's go back to the plywood. You could use a foam gym flooring tile. I cut one down to size and attach it with screws and finishing washers. Now, it doesn't look as fancy as the upholstery pad, but it is just as functional.